welcome to the first Methods Year 11 video. I thought we'd start with Factorising Quadratics. I really love some of your feedback once you've had a go at this one to see if this is the sort of thing that you'd like to see and will be helpful to you this year. I thought we'd start with Factorising Quadratics because you need to be really flexible and really confident with your algebra this year and next year. So this is something you should be able to do backwards and forwards from year 10, and I've tried to put sort of one of each type today. The way I'd like you to do it is pause the video, give them a go yourself, and then watch the solutions and see if you've learned something new or a new technique. That would be good. So let's start with 1A. This is just a typical simple one here. So how do we go about this? Well, first of all, we need to figure out two numbers that multiply to give us -6, but add to give us +5. And so if you list the factors, which hopefully really you do this in your head, you either have 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. Now at first you might think, well, both of those work because both of those have a way of giving you 5, but only one of them will have a way of getting you a -6 when multiplied. Okay, so the answer to this one is, and we'll put this in our double brackets, x and x, and the only way that that will work is if we do 6, +6, take 1, and you could write that the other way around. It won't work if you do 2 and 3 because 2 times 3 gives you +6, not -6. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. So there's usually two ways that teachers often teach you how to do this. I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it, and then you can see if that's a new technique for you. The first way that we start this off is by multiplying the 6, the first number or the first coefficient, by the -4, the last value or the last term, and we get -24. What we want to do is find two numbers that multiply to give you that, but add together to get -5. So it's very similar to our other means of doing it, but with an extra step. So if you think about that, then what you end up with is -8 and +3. So what we do is we basically split that middle term. So we have 6x squared, take 8x plus 3x, and then we keep the take 4 on the end. So that working out in green there is to help you split the term in the middle. Once you've split the term, what you want to do is do grouping by pairs, which is hopefully another factorization skill that you learned in year 10, if not also in year 9. The pairs that I'm going to group together are just these first two. I can see that I can factorize out some bits and pieces there. And these two here, there's nothing that I can factorize out other than 1, but let's see what happens. So with the yellow, we're looking to take out the highest common factor. So that will be 2 and also x. And then we're left with 3x take 4. And you notice that you also have your 3x take 4 in the blue highlighting. So what we notice now is that we have grouping by pairs has given us this common factor of 3x take 4. So finishing that off, we end up with 3x take 4 as a highest common factor, and then the 2x, and then what exists in front of the second 3x take 4 is a 1. Okay, and let's look at part C. So with part C, what sort of thing do we have? It's not a trinomial because we don't have 3 terms, it's a binomial. But when factorizing, the most important thing to ask yourself, which I didn't emphasize in A and B because it wasn't that relevant, is you want to ask yourself first, is there a highest common factor? And there is. The highest common factor here is 4. And if we factorize out the 4, we're left with x squared, take 25. Now if we look at the part that's inside the bracket, you should recognize this as a difference of 2 squares. So what we end up with is again double brackets, and we have x and x, and what we can see is the square, that's a square number 25, and the square root of that is 5, so we end up with a +5 and a take 5. So the difference of 2 squares, a plus and a minus. Okay, so that's our first part of factorizing. You might like to pause the video again now before we go through question 2, but let's have a look at how to do a factorizing by completing the square, which can also be really powerful. Again, you learn different ways of doing this, but let's take a look at this method, the really quick and easy method. So factorising a general quadratic into a completing the square form or a turning point form gives us one bracket. So what we do to get the term that goes with the x is we halve that -4. So we get -2 squared. Then we take that exact same term squared, and then we write the take 12 on the bottom. Okay, so really that dividing by 2 ends up in 2 places, and we carry the -12 with us. Then simplifying, we have x take 2 all squared. Take, now -2 squared is 4, and then take 12. So we end up with x take 2 squared, take 16. And we could then use that to either solve the equation if we wish, or to help us graph the parabola, none of which we're going to do today. Okay, so until next time, let me know if there's anything you'd like, any skills you'd like me to go through.